Mental health is in the spotlight following the recent news linked to the Springbok and Blue Bulls winger Sbu Nkosi. Nkosi mentioned in a statement released by the Bulls that he is struggling with his mental health as a professional sportsman, and that led to his disappearance from training for the last 3 to 4 weeks. Joining me to shed some light on the matter that's at hand is Ian Shippey from thinksports.net. Good afternoon, Mr. Shippey. Thank you for taking the time to speak to us. How are you?
My absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. Let's get straight into it. What are the major contributing factors to mental health issues that many athletes are facing in different sporting codes in South Africa and across the globe?
Arthur, I think it depends on the individual, but I think we underestimate the accumulated pressure that there is of an elite athlete that they impose upon themselves, the coaches, the sport, the fans. So there's, that is one of the big distinguishing factors between sport at a lower level and one in the public eye, such as Sbu is playing.
Yes. I mean, in rugby in particular, it's becoming more frequent that these problems are popping up. Recently this year, we had Australian Test captain, I think his name is Michael Hooper,
That's right.
who did say that he wants to take some time away from the rugby field, I think for a month, and it forced him not to lead the Wallabies for Test rugby this year. Sbu Nkosi becoming the most relevant and latest case study in South Africa, coming out and saying, look, I'm struggling with mental health issues, I can't cope with the pressures, and it's very, very difficult for me. Why do you think that these cases are just becoming more frequent, especially over the last few months and years?
I think they've been lying underneath the surface for years, for decades, but we've had some people who've had the courage to speak out. And if we just dial back the clock to last year, we had Simone Biles at the Olympics, we had Naomi Osaka, and interestingly, Ben Stokes, who's been on our screens again, winning a T20, dominating in a test against Pakistan now. He had the courage, I think just over a year ago, to say, I can't play for England. Now he's dominating. So like in anything, you're needing forerunners. And for people to say, and there's such a shame around mental health.
Yes.
If I say I need to go for root canal treatment, there's no shame in that at all. But to say I'm just not coping,
sounds very taboo.
There's a stigma to it.
Yes,
and it takes courageous athletes like Michael Hooper and others to say, I'm just not up to it right now. Yeah.
Are sports teams, clubs and federations doing enough to address the problem of mental health issues? And what role do administrators play in all of this?
I think it depends on the context. I have the privilege of associating closely with the Crusaders Rugby Club in Christchurch, New Zealand, and they have a structure where they have a police chaplain in a few times a week, and players know that they can go and consult. So I think it depends on the union, depends on the club. But I think something I'd like to get to with you is it's only the best players who can maybe reveal that to the coach, because they know they'll be picked again.
Wow.
But so Sachin Tendulkar can tell someone that he's not up to it because he knows he'll be back in the batting lineup, and I assume Evan Itzebeth as well.
Wow.
But
so
what about
if you're not well known, you can't exactly easily express that. Is that what you're saying?
Not well known, but will I be selected again? So if we take Faf de Klerk right now, who's just played, three consecutive tests starting at number 9, if he wasn't if he had a slight hammy or something, do you think he would share with those people or push through? So you need structures which the coach helps supervise, but players need a safe place to go to with demarcated channels that will not affect their selection.
Wow. Having said that, I mean, the physical demands on the body and the mind can escalate these stress levels. At what point must the workload of the professional athlete be managed better just so that you can avoid a mental breakdown, for example?
It's a brilliant comment, and more and more research is being done on that. I had the privilege of working closely with the Springboks for some time, and was close to Yanni du Plessis. I think in 1 year he had 33 starts. If you added up the starts for the Sharks, if you got to the knockout stages of the old Super Rugger, and all the starts for the Springboks, 33 Saturdays in a year, having to bring your best in the front row, is going to take a toll on you. So there has to be squad rotation, and there have to be indicators to know when players should be rotated and take turns.
I mean, time also plays an important role in the recovery process, but when do you know when to get the athlete back on the field of play? How much time does that take?
I think that also depends on an individual. I think a lot of that healing and recovery happens in a squad context, and I think we're talking rugby right now. The wiser rugby people know that you keep players close to the action, and in fact, going to the Crusaders again, who I think who have managed to embrace the continuum of mental health and performance. They put a lot of emphasis on the medical staff, the non-psychological medical staff helping, because the physio is constantly working on the players, the strength and conditioning coach. So those are some of the people who know them the best.
Yeah.
So they can actually often pick up where players are at mentally. So it depends on different individuals on when they're ready to get back into the game, yeah.
Then what role does organizational culture play in that? You worked with SA Rugby for 10 to 12 years, and you kept on mentioning the setup in the Crusaders. What can you take from that that could be implemented within the SA Rugby setup?
So I'm not as close to the SA Rugby setup to comment on that right now, but let me talk about the men for now, and I think it's applicable to our extraordinary women athletes as well. I think there's a bigger conversation here, is that we're redefining what masculinity is and mental toughness. Wow. And if you look at some of the leading authors and speakers of the day, people like Brené Brown in a different field would say that vulnerability and strength are the two sides of the same coin. So, and one of our leading people in the world right now, Paddy Upton, working with the Indian T20 team right now, South African born and bred. Wow. Paddy would say that mental toughness is not having a bad day, but knowing what channels, who I can speak to when I need to offload some of the pressure that I'm feeling.
Wow, Ian Shippey, we have run out of time. Thank you very much for your time. That was Ian Shippey from thinksports.net.